flies with angels, she runs with wolves. Part goddess, part gangster, part honest, part prankster. She flies with angels, she runs with wolves. Diamonds and daggers, she's mercy and anger. She flies with angels.
Hello, 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 gorgeous souls. We are here. We are about to begin Get Paid by God Day 1. We are going to be here for this 3-day event, this 3-day experience together, and you will walk out of these 3 days a different woman than you walked into this space from. These 3 days, we are going to go deep. We're going to see where you step out of flow with God. We're going to drop in so that you harness your power, so that you stand in conviction, and so that you open the pathways to wild amounts of wealth. And wealth in a way, and money in a way, and payments in a way that come in connection to who you are, not connected to what you do. And when I say what you do, from a place of forcing or misalignment or shoulds or following someone else's blueprint, but we're going to get you in such deep alignment so that you move without hesitation, you move without delay, you set the stage for where God meets you. My work, everything I lead in, is about moving from a place of truth, operating your way in your frequency from your place of alignment, alignment that comes from within self, not from outside of self, but deeply within you, in connection, you in your truth, you as a conduit of God. And before we even begin here, I want you to anchor into this energy, anchor into this feeling. Taking a deep breath here, declaring, I'm ready, I'm willing, I'm available. I am here to be a conduit of God, to operate from my deepest space of alignment, to show up in truth, not to get. I'm not here in this space to get. I'm here to be the fullest expression of who I am. And as so, God meets me there. As so, I get paid because I'm no longer from this moment forward willing to waver. I'm no longer from this moment going forward willing to hesitate. I'm no longer from this moment going forward available to delay the timelines because I create the interference. And this is where we begin. Note, notice, see that you put limitations in your energy field, not God. You're not waiting on God. God is waiting on you. And God doesn't hold back from a place of punishment or because he doesn't want you to have and he doesn't want you to receive. But you're going to notice throughout these 3 days where you handcuff God. This is a big part of day 2. We're going to see where you're actually handcuffing God, where you're disrupting the very thing that you pray for. Day 3, we're going to see how that blocks your receiving and how you open up. And so these 3 days are going to be extraordinary. Now, some of you are also in the 11-day Telegram space with me, which is happening in conjunction with Get Paid by God. I will tell you, this space is already fire. This space is already moving. When you signed up for the 11-day Telegram space, if you're in that space, you signed up thinking that there was going to be 11 transmissions dropped, one each day. This space has already grown. This space has already expanded. There's already multiple drops happening in there. There's a challenge happening in there because I move with God. And so I don't hold back. I don't say this is an $11 space. Let's, just make it worth $11. I'm a conduit for God. I lead with God. I'm overflowing with things I desire to give to you in this space and in the $11 space. And right now I'm going to drop the link here. If you're not in that $11 space, I will let you know that you're missing out. You're missing out on 11 days of additional transmissions, of challenges, People that are in the $11 space, they're going to be adding comments here and questions here while we're live. And I'm going to go in that space after to answer them because my work is about deepening. It's about integration. I have no desire for you to be here and for you to consume from me. I have no desire for you to listen and not integrate and not implement. These 3 days will change your life if you allow it to. These 11 days in the Telegram space, like literally everything you need to step into this stream and this flow with God and to get paid by God. And so I'm going to add this $11 link for you right here. If you're not in, it's going to be in the chat screen. If you're not in, I suggest that you come in here. Now, beyond this, beyond the $11 space, so we're here for 3 days, and I'm going to be right open with you from the beginning. Beyond get paid by God, my core offer, the foundation of my work, the offer that comes next is called Employed by God. And I'm going to tell you about Employed by God right now. Get Paid by God is where you recognize, you harness your power, you step into conviction, you open the receiving channels. Employed by God is a 12-month experience with me where this doesn't become a 3-day event. It becomes the way you live, walk, breathe, move, make decisions in your business. Employed by God is a mastermind for 12 months. We have weekly calls, so we're tuning into this frequency every single week together. It's not overconsumption. It is one call a week. You tune in, you plug into this energy, you ask questions. There's hot seat coaching. I deliver transmissions and riffs, but we are immersed in this energy, this walk with God, God signing the paychecks for 12 months together. If you desire to come into that space with us, I'm also going to drop the link here. That space is regularly $3,333 for a year or $333 a month. If you say yes before we begin, so if you say yes over the next 7 days by April 16th, you're coming in at the price of $2,222 for the year or $222 a month on a payment plan. So while you're here, while you're in this space with me, know you're going to deeply receive over 3 days, this 3-day event, and there's the invitation to go further, the invitation to go deeper, the invitation to continue, because I want this to be your walk. This has been my walk. This continues to be my walk. Employed by God is the core of my work. It is the foundation, and so much so that it's the foundation that there's already about 100 people in that space. And when I say people, there's men and women in that space. There's already about 100 people in that space. And they said yes with the details I've just given you, that it's going to be one call a week and a deep experience. What's moved through me since I've sold this space and before we begin is that we're starting off strong. We are going deep. We are going wide. We are going big. The first 7 weeks, there's actually going to be 13 calls. There's going to be 13 calls because this is where we're setting the foundation of everything that's to come in that space. So over the first 7 weeks, we're talking claiming your authority, becoming the path of least resistance, activating the creative frequency, voice activation, God signing your paychecks, money codes, and most importantly, like showing the fuck up. Showing up for you, showing up for your vision, moving with absolute truth. And so I'm going to drop this link here for you. If you're like, Jack, I'm ready right now to come into Employed by God, you've got 1 week. This isn't a decision you need to make on the spot, but if you're ready to move with the energy, you're going to be called many times throughout this experience with me to not hesitate, to not delay, to not say, let me wait till later. Let me wait and see what I get here. Trust what's moving through you in this space, in this time right now. And your truth might be, I'm not sure yet. And so that's what makes you make the move later. Your truth might be at the end of the 3 days, I'm not feeling it. I'm not wanting more with you. That also gets to be perfectly okay. One thing I will tell you about my spaces are multiple truths get to exist here. But what the call on you is to do is to put your truth above everything else. Your truth leads. Your energy leads. When you feel the ping to move, you've got to move. God is communicating to you all the time. You're getting these intuitive nudges. You're getting these soul hits, and you're hesitating. And what you're doing is you're like, yeah, I feel the energy, and it feels expansive, or it feels like, holy shit, this is scary. Am I really going to do it? But I feel that nudge within me. And instead of moving, instead of saying yes, and you do this in so many ways, this is just going to be one example. You go up here, you go to your head, you think about it, you weigh the pros and cons. You're like, does this make sense? Can I justify this? Will this really get me to where I want to go? I have a million questions. And not that questions are wrong, but notice where that energy is coming from because you're trying to figure it out. God's given you a direction and now you want to take control. You want to put your messy human fingerprints all over it because you're not in true flow with God. You're not in trust with God. And here's the thing is that you say most often, I trust God. I trust God. But your actions don't. Your energy doesn't. In fact, you say you trust God, but you tell God to go fuck himself all the time. How does that feel in your body right now? Hearing those words, me calling you out. You tell God to go fuck himself all the time. Like straight up, God, I'm giving you the middle finger right now. And you might not say it with your words. You might not say, God, fuck you, but you say it with your action and more often your lack of action. You feel that nudge, that desire, that whisper. You want to post this thing, but it feels a little too edgy. And so you dull it down, you dilute it. Yeah, it makes me feel sad. It makes me feel icky. These are some of the comments coming up for those who are live with me right now. It is sad because God's calling on you for big things. God chose you. You chose yourself. You signed up for this mission. Whatever's been placed in your soul and whatever you desire, like you've already said yes to this. At the soul level, it's already en route to you. But you delay the timeline and it's not showing up in this experience because you hold back. And then you know option God. God's got no other way to meet you. God meets you in this place of delay. And that's not what you want. And that's not what God wants for you. And yet, that's the experiencing because you give no other option, because you hesitate, because you wait, because you're scared, because it makes you feel uncomfortable, because questioning comes in. You worry that you're not enough. You worry about other people getting it or not getting it. You worry about being misunderstood. One thing I will tell you about this frequency, the frequency of being misunderstood, every single woman I know who is like led and who leads with God and who leads with her holy fire and who's willing to be misunderstood, the first few times you're misunderstood, that you're judged online becomes the most freeing experiences. You find true liberation when you honestly realize it doesn't matter because your walk isn't with them. Your walk is with God. And you being the conduit of truth and you being the truth of who you are becomes the most important thing to you. And when you stand in this level of conviction and this level of power, it's so easy for God to sign your paychecks. It's so easy for God to show up in true deliverance because God places his trust in you just as you've placed your trust in God. It's like, yeah, I'm conspiring in my favor, so God conspires in my favor. And God, I mean, I will tell you honestly, God is always quite honestly conspiring in your favor, but sometimes you're experiencing that and sometimes you're not. And that's based on what you decide. Do you decide to be in flow and in trust, or do you decide to hesitate? Do you decide to tell God to go fuck themselves? Being willing to be seen as a villain, even though I'm not, has been so freeing. I mean, this is another experience. Can I actually not control the narrative? Can I not need to position myself in a certain way so people experience me a certain way? When your energy field carries this level of freedom, this level of power, again, look at what's happening here. My hands are expanding. This is our auric field. This is our energy field around us. This is the magnetic field. You're literally creating a bigger magnetic surface. And for me, this isn't about not caring. It's in fact quite the opposite. I'll often say this is my like no fucks given and a million fucks given energy all at the same time. The no fucks given, meaning like I'm available to be the villain. I'm available to be misunderstood. I'm available for, I mean, the full human experience and the full soul journey and whatever comes along with that is because I care so much. I actually give a million fucks. I care so deeply. I care about this work. I care about this medicine. I care about you receiving from me. I care about me being the fullest expression of who I am and the voice of God and speaking the truth that runs through me, that I care so deeply that I can't let anyone else's opinion of me stop me. I can't let that be the thing that creates the delay. So here we are. We are at the beginning of day one. Day one, where we're dropping into this energy together. Day one, where I've invited you in to start spending money here, to put your money where your mouth is, to come in to the $11 offer, to come into Employed by God. We are just beginning. I've barely started to pour into you. I've barely given to you. Like I said, I have an overflowing amount to share with you in these next 3 days. I have an overflowing amount of abundance, of wisdom, of stories. I'm a line six in my human design. And so I really lead through my lived experience, my embodied wisdom. And right now you've been called. We're starting this off with me selling to you. And I'm going to ask you to be honest with yourself right now. How did that feel? How did that feel for you when I opened up this space and said, hey, here we are. This is what's happening. And there's a call for you to jump into something next. There's a call for you not to jump in and just say yes to an $11 offer. There's a call for you to say yes to a $2,222 offer. Some people are saying it feels amazing and clear. It feels perfect. I appreciate the openness. I love the conviction and the transparency. I felt authentic and like I could give myself permission to. It felt honest and like a generous gift. It feels real. I thought it was a bit early. We all have a choice to say yes or no. It feels like truth. It contracts. So here's the thing. And there's definitely a reason why I started off this way. There's intention that I bring into everything that I do. And my intention is to do what feels good to me. My intention is truth, clarity, transparency, operating in integrity. So I'm going to tell you something that doesn't feel good for me. And I've ran events like this and I've done it in all different ways. And sometimes I've ran an event like this where I don't sell at all where I'm live and I sell after in an email because that feels true and aligned. But I'll tell you more often than not, when I've done that, it's because I felt like, who am I to like just like show up and put this out there? And who am I to sell this way? I felt like I've got to show up and like give, 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 give before I can open the next doorway. And so waiting to sell after the fact because I wasn't owning my truth. I wasn't owning my power. I wasn't owning who I am. Other times I've done what's very typical. It's you sign up for the free event, you run the event, and at the end, it's like, well, let me take off my giving hat and let me put on my, okay, now here's I'm going to sell to you, and here's where you move, and this is how you do it, and this is how you say yes. And the urgency comes in if you say yes in the next 24 hours, you're going to get this bonus, and you're going to get these things, and you're going to blah, blah, blah. That does not feel good to me. It might feel good to you. It doesn't feel good to me. And so my call again is going to be do whatever the fuck I want to do and do it unapologetically because that lets you come in to truth frequency with me. I know what I have to offer over these next 3 days is going to be gold for you, whether you move beyond or not. I know what comes next and Employed by God is going to change your life. And so I can open up these channels and feel so clean and then drop into the transmissions that we're going to do over the next 3 days without attachment to your yes. Everything is an invitation. But when we speak invitation from the frequency of truth, it gets felt. When we speak it in a convincing energy or an attachment, that disrupts the frequency. This disrupts God signing your paychecks, the money that's ready, available to flow through you. So now You might not be aligned with this way. Some of you might be like, ooh, I like this. I'm going to try this next time I do something. I'm going to try this because it feels good to try on. And it might feel aligned, it might not feel aligned. But the thing is, we've got to be willing. We've got to be willing to disrupt the norm. We've got to be willing and not to create disruption, but because that's following our truth. That's saying yes to the ideas that God placed within you. Now, I mean, there was a lot of comments around like, it feels good, it feels transparent. Someone did say it feels like a little too early. And I'm going to invite you to look at all your beliefs around this. Like maybe you haven't stated this here, but maybe it felt uncomfortable for you. Maybe, you had that thought like, this is pretty audacious. Maybe you thought it's easier for her. Like it's easier for her. There's already people in. She already has an audience. There's like over 700 people in this space. So if a few say yes, like just notice if you went to a story here. If you went to a story about why I can do this and why you can't. If you went to the story, like and for some of you, and I want to honor that this is the truth, that it feels too early. That gets to be. But notice if it felt too early for you because there's a story attached because you said, don't you have to give before you can receive? Don't you have to give before you can ask? This is part of what I'm here to disrupt as well. And we're going to talk about this in one of the upcoming days. But I really talk a lot about our giving channel, our doing channel, and our receiving channel, and not having them be intertwined. And so showing up and offering and being open to receive right from the beginning, like there really are no rules here. When you are employed by God, when you are ready to get paid by God, you've got to be willing to put all the rules down. Everything you've been taught, everything you've been told, it really has no business in this place. Like I have no interest in the strategy you've been taught before if the strategy did not include your walk with God, you being the truth of who you are, you doing things your way. And I've seen this happen too many times. I've experienced this myself, where it's like, oh yeah, the field is expanding. God is like there. God's like, I am like signing the paycheck, and then the paycheck never gets delivered to you because you block it, because you're just about to, but then you see Jenny do it this way and you're like, oh, I should do it that way because that works for her. And then even when it feels so like ick in your body, and I don't mean uncomfortable, like you're being called to an edge and you're being called to stretch here, but it feels like actual misalignment and you do it anyways. God's like, well, now I can't deliver because if I deliver, what's that going to show you? It's going to show you that doing things out of alignment produces the results and gets me signing the paychecks, and that's not how it works. And so, right here, I want you to take a little bit of inventory. What are the things that you've been saying yes to that are actually no's for you? What are you saying yes to that's creating misalignment in your energy field? And can you start to take radical self-responsibility here? I'm saying yes to things that feel like a no. Therefore, I'm creating misalignment in my energy field. I'm stopping God from signing my paycheck. What are the things that you're saying no to that you want to say yes to, but fear comes in? You say, who am I to do that? Well, I need more credentials. I need more training. I need a bigger audience. I need blah, blah, blah. Oh, this might actually feel uncomfortable for someone else. So let me just soften a little bit. Also equals God's like, and I cannot pay you when you're willing to override yourself, when you're willing to go against what you feel inside. You are here to be the fullest expression of who you are, not anyone else. I'm gonna read a couple of these comments here. The theory is ask and you will receive, not give to receive. Now, the thing about this is I love to give. Like, again, these 3 days are free. I am going to give and give and give and give to you because it's in my divine nature to give. It's in your divine nature to give. This keeps my giving channel free and my receiving channel free because I have no expectation for you to move and for you to say yes to either of these offers I presented unless you truly feel it. Someone else says, my honest reaction was, here we go. Of course she's selling something. But then it dissolved as soon as it came up, which just showed me it was an old belief and one that no longer serves me. Time to let that shit go. So here's the thing. I told you about before, like sometimes I would sell and sometimes I would wait till after to sell. And I remember this first time that this really landed for me. I was leading a free mastermind session and it was 2 hours and I like poured into the people in that space and the messages I received after were just like honestly like so extraordinary, like really mind-blowing the shifts people had in 2 hours of mentorship with me. And I didn't sell on that space because I felt like I just gave so much that it feels just weird to now turn this into a selling opportunity. But what I realized after is that I did a disservice to the people in that space with me. That's leaving them hanging. If I've got medicine to give to you and I don't invite you in, I'm actually taking from you. And you have this within you too. You have words that want to move through you. You have books that want to be written through you. You have a podcast that wants to be started. You have a free offering that people want to receive from you. You have an Instagram post that is like just dying to pour out of you, and you're not doing it. And then you wonder, when's God going to start paying me? When's it going to feel easier? When you decide to let it be easy. And easy to me means like when I say easy, gosh, it really isn't easy. So talk about a contradiction here. When I say easy, I don't mean easy. Because doing this type of work, being so brave and so bold and willing to stand in conviction of who you are and your truth, it's hard. It's hard to sit in sacred witness of yourself like that and to see where you step out of alignment and step out of truth. It's hard to sit and see, like, oh yeah, I've been telling myself lies. I've been telling myself lies and operating from that field. It's hard to look yourself in the mirror and say, actually, you're choosing to stay small. You're choosing to operate within your comfort zone. So those are the ways in which it's hard. But as soon as you are willing to show up being the fullest expression of who you are, it becomes so much easier. And it's like, I get to. Like, this is honestly how I feel in my work. I get to. I get to be here and have this conversation with you. I get to use my social media as an expression of who I am. I get to write books in the way that I desire to write books and not have it follow a certain formula or something that somebody else tells me I have to do. Because at the end of the day, I just answer to me and I answer to God. No one else. God's my permission slip. Me being the voice of truth and the voice of God is what allows my paychecks to get signed, is allows me to get paid and to get paid abundantly. What showed up for me when I saw you were offering a free masterclass was this isn't free. This is gold. Every single masterclass, mastermind, anything I've ever experienced with you has been so powerful. I know you give in all your spaces. No amount of money can buy being in this energy in this room. So here's the thing, we're going to drop deeper into this on day 3, but I want to like touch on this right now. I don't attach who I am to money. I don't attach my worthiness to money. This is part of this get paid by God frequency. No matter what I do, I'm getting paid by God. I say things like living makes me money because I truly believe me being out there and immersed in my life and with my family and like not sacrificing, not needing to sacrifice, not needing to struggle, not buying into that belief code that's such an old story that we've been handed down for generations opens up the channel, opens up the pathway for me to receive more. But I'll tell you, it definitely hasn't always been this way for me. Like right now, conviction is what gets me paid and gets me paid abundantly. I'm not new at this. Like I am not new at this. I've been making 7 figures a year in my business since 2020. And actually, I mean, 2020. Okay, let's get into the story for a second. 2020, I called my $1 million year. And this was after a 128K year in 2019 when I was $200,000 in debt. 2020 was a 958K year. So this is a big jump. Since then, so 5 years, 5 years, right? 2020, no, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 5 years. I've been making seven figures a year. We're 3 months into this year. And if you look at my social media, you'll see like I haven't been selling much this year. And I'm also well on my way to having my first multi-million dollar year. Honestly, I expect to 3 times it. And these numbers are so important for me to share with you because it hasn't been over the last 5 years a journey of becoming. It hasn't been me becoming more. That's actually a huge fucking lie that you've been taught that you need to become. It's me owning who I already am, me speaking the truth that runs through me. And of course, there's growth and there's evolution, but it was me really stepping into this claiming energy and this conviction energy. And right from the beginning, I would say things like, my work isn't meant to be talked about, it's meant to be experienced. Not because I didn't know how to talk about the work, but because that's truly what I felt. And so I'd invite people into these free mastermind experiences with me. I moved in ways that I wasn't seeing being modeled online because I decided my way gets to be the way. And the more I move in alignment with God, the more I get paid. And I've also done it the other way too. I've done it where I did the heavy lifting, where I led with, you know, control, where I led with like, well, this is how smart I am. This is how right I am. Let me do this. Let me figure this out. And to be honest, it worked. Like my first year in business was a 358K year. And so we went from 358K a year to 128K to 958K. And then it's been seven figures, seven figures, seven figures, seven figures, seven figures. If I said that 5 times, if I said six, well, let's get ready to see what this year comes. But this has been the pathway for me. You want to know what happened in between that 358K year and that 128K year? I stopped being who I am. I stopped speaking my truth. I stopped doing what the fuck I wanted to do in my business, and I started following other people's blueprint. I started giving my voice away. I started taking 2 hours to write an Instagram post because I was trying to follow a formula. Well, you got to start with this hook, and then you've got to do this, and then you've got to bring people from A to B to C in order for them to buy from you. Like right now, that just like honestly feels disgusting in my body. I am just like, ew, gross. What was that? Like, what was I thinking? And I didn't know. So can I also look at that experience with grace and compassion and see how it ultimately served me? And how did it ultimately serve me? Because now I know I'm never willing to do that again. I'm never willing to compromise my truth or my voice because somebody else tells me that they have a better way. And when I say I'm not willing, like I'm going to tell you, like I am honestly not willing. Last year, I wrote my first book. This year, I've finished writing my second book. It's just literally like heading off to it's already in the publisher's hand and it's like about to head off to print. With both of these experiences, I was told that my voice wasn't enough. The first book, the first time that I wrote the first chapter of the first book, I sent it to a publisher and he said, I don't like the way that you write. That it took me 10 years, 8 years to recover from that. 8 years of telling myself I am not a writer. I don't write the way that other people write. And then I wrote the book in 3 weeks once I decided I actually love the way that I write. And then I wrote the book, the whole book. And I was like so proud to send it to my mentor. Like had chills throughout my body when I sent it in. Didn't allow it to be edited because I wanted him to feel the rawness of my words and my truth. And his response back to me was, this is a book filled with such great wisdom. It's going to change so many people's lives. And then a few weeks later came back to me and said, don't put this out in this world. Don't publish this. This is shameful. Too shameful to be printed for the world to read, were the exact words. This is coming from not just a mentor that I looked up to for a very long time and had worked with for a very long time, and a mentor whose work I still absolutely love today. This is a spiritual guru. This was a best-selling author, like multiple best-selling books. I had an opportunity in that moment to deny what's true for me, to dull down my voice, to rip out the story of the book, to make it a bestseller, or I had the opportunity to stand in my truth. Let my voice be heard. I've had a similar experience with the second book, very different and also similar. Not going to share that with you today, but I will share that with you because this is important in the conversation we're going to have on day 3. But I'll tell you quickly, a few of the comments from the next book was, this is too uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable reading these words. Change these words. These words feel like they could harm other people. Our truth doesn't harm. When our truth comes from God, our truth doesn't harm. You've got to be willing to stand like this, stand so powerfully in who you are, and see where you leak energy, where you decide that it's got to be something other than it is right now, where you step out of that alignment with God, where you try to control or you let other people control your experience and your story. I'll tell you, it becomes exhausting operating this way. That year that I told you about, that 128K year in business, it was exhausting. It was honestly exhausting. I had my business partner was my best friend at the time. We started not even liking each other at the time because I was like, everything felt like it was being energetically manipulated. And while I wouldn't have used those words at the time, that's what I'd say looking back in hindsight. I was trying to control everything. I was trying to figure it out. We were trying to make it happen. It's like, well, if we take people from here to here to here, this is a pathway that makes sense. But at the end of the day, it was like, is that even what you want to be doing or talking about or the way in which you want to do it? No. But we did it because we were promised that this was the pathway. Promised that if we just follow this blueprint, it will work. Other people have extraordinary things to teach you. They've done things in a way that works for them, and they have wisdom to share with you. But you're meant to tune in and see if that's true for you. Maybe there's elements that you're like, I'm gonna pick up this element. I'm gonna try this on. I'm gonna get curious about this. I'm gonna play with this idea. But you're uniquely you. No one is the same as you. No one has the same gift as you. No one has the same medicine as you. No one will speak the words that God places within you the way that you do. And so we can't just sit here and blindly follow other people's way and choose to create this interference. And then we loop. And what happens is we put in the interference, we put the limitation in our field, and then we collect all this evidence. We collect the evidence of it doesn't work. It doesn't work this way for me. And then we start to feel like a failure. And then we tell ourselves these stories. And then we get in this loop and we start to believe the lies that we tell ourselves. When the whole time God's just like, no, 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 no. The reason why that isn't working is because you're going against your divine nature. You're going against your soul. Jenny, who's over there and it's working beautifully for her and her prayers are being answered, that's because that way is correct for Jenny. That's in alignment with her mission, her medicine, her soul. That's why it works for her, not because it's the strategy, because it's her alignment. But you try to do the same thing and it creates misalignment for you. Well, of course it's not going to work. I love to talk about this with social media. I have some incredible, friends in this space, and they're the kind of women who I've grown on this journey with since 2019. And they are content creators on top of content creators, posting 3 times a day is that's them not holding back. That's them owning they're too muchness. And I get to, and I've got so much to say that not doing that, not posting 3 times a day would feel like they're holding back, would feel like they're stifling their voice. And so people see, a woman operating this way and posting 3 times a day and her business is booming. They're like, well, I should do that too. But then you force yourself. You force yourself to create content and to say things and do things in a way that's not your truth. Whereas for me, I use my social media very differently. There's times where I go a week without saying anything because for me, what I care about being consistent about is the consistency and energy. Now, the other women do too. They're consistent in that energy because that's what feels good for them. That's the unapologetic energy. My unapologetic energy is I'm going to say things when I have things to say. And I sit in sacred witness of myself, and I sit in a lot of silence, and I sit in a lot of communion with God. And there's conversations when I'm not speaking publicly. There's often a lot of deep conversations being had behind the scenes with clients. So no one's way is the right way. And I see someone bringing in that would exhaust my projector energy. So then we look at things like human design, for example. So I'm a 4/6 projector in my human design. And then we limit ourselves with our human design. Well, I can't do that because I'm a projector. I need to wait for that invitation. I don't have this energy. No matter what your human design is, no matter what your whatever is, whatever tool you're bringing in, again, let it expand you. Don't let it create limitation in your field. When you are walking with God and operating with God and following those nudges, I will promise you, you'll have an abundance of energy. Do you want to know why you'll have an abundance of energy? Because you're not leaking it. You're not wasting time overthinking it, over analyzing it, thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it again. I really, do not love the concept of let me just think about it. Don't think. Let me sit with it. Feels different to me. Let me sit with it. Let me sit and like tune into how I feel about this. But I'm not going to say let me think about it because thinking brings me into my mind and my mind disconnects me from God. My mind disconnects me from truth. Can you feel that right there? Your mind keeps you stuck in what you've already experienced, in what you can make sense of, in what you know. Limits your channel of money, limits the offers, the ideas that want to move through you, limits the words. Because your mind, well, it's brilliant in so many ways. Your mind only sources information from what it already knows, what it's already experienced, what it already has. And yeah, your mind can open a book and can tune into somebody else's experience and what they know. And you can learn that way. And that's going to be the logical pathway forward. That's going to make sense. That's going to keep you in the realm of predictability. But when you really want to open up wide to like wild quantum leaps and wild streams of wealth and wild God signing my paychecks, you've got to be willing to say, like, my mind is limited. My mind only gets what my mind gets, and I'm willing to move beyond my mind. I'm willing to tune into my soul. I'm willing to let my soul in the driver's seat here. I'm willing to let God lead because God's eyes don't see through the lens of limitation, and my human eyes do. And not because there's anything wrong with being a human. I chose to come here to be fully human and fully divine, but I know that what I see with my human eyes are limited. And so I just don't choose to lead from the human eyes. I lead from the soul. I lead from the feeling inside. I lead from the nudge. I lead in ways that don't make sense because what do I want to be met with? Results that don't make sense. Remember what I said earlier. You set the stage. You invite God to the playground. He meets you in the frequency that you're at. If you need it to make sense, God's going to show up in ways that make sense. And what happens when you don't? Like, gosh, I was sharing yesterday in the Telegram channel some of my prayers. And when I pray, it's usually like simple prayers like, God, shower me in your magnificence. And this prayer here, I was like, God, blow my mind. Like, God, blow my mind. And that really brought in this energy that we're talking about. I'm willing to move beyond what my mind knows, beyond what my mind sees. And sitting in this like deep awareness of self and see where I come in and where my mind tries to take control. And this is part of the experience of really harnessing my personal power. This is what I really want to dive into with you on day one. You've got to see where you leak energy, where you hand your power over to someone else, where you hand your power over to someone else's way, where you possibly even hand over your power to God. What do I mean by that? You hand your power over to God when you decide to surrender because you believe that you don't know, because you're powerless. And so it's like, okay, God, I've tried all the things my way, and now I'm going to get on my hands and knees and pray because like I can't do this anymore. That's leaning on a God from a place of you feeling not enough, you feeling powerless, putting God on a pedestal. When you get paid by God, you've got to take God off the pedestal. You got to understand you move with God, you walk with God. God is like your biggest supporter, your biggest fan. God is the provider because you understand who you are and who God is and who you are together, together with God, God guiding from within you. And so notice in each moment, in each day, where you're leaking your energy. And I'm going to give you an exercise right now because what I want you to do is become so deeply aware of self. And people ask me all the time, like, how do you just shift in this? How do you shift frequency so quickly when the lies come in, when the distortions come in? How do you move that? And this is really like the power, if you've heard the term like collapsing time, like this is what I believe the power is collapsing time around the amount of time that I like step outside of self, step out of my alignment, that I believe in the lies, that I'm leaking energy because we're human. Like I said, we are human. There's going to be moments where the fear kicks in. There's going to be moments where we believe the lies that we tell ourselves. There's going to be moments where we hesitate. And I want to shorten this time frame because when I shorten this time frame, that's when the channels like open up to flow. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. I've been giving people this exercise that I'm about to give you for years, for years, for years, for years. I started doing this. This was one of two things I did daily when I was $200,000 in debt. So this is 2019. I was $200,000 in debt. I had $12 in my bank account. I had two young children at the time. I mean, I still have two children, but they were really little at the time. And, mouths to feed, rent to pay, all of that. Rent to pay that was $2,600 a month that I struggled to pay. Since then, since God started signing my paychecks, I bought two $2 million houses. So let's just like look at that exchange right there. $2,600 a month struggling to pay it, like literally was paying it late to where I'm at now. And this is one of the biggest things that I did at that time. There's two things. I'm going to share the other thing with you either tomorrow or on day 3. And this is one of the things I did. I've told my clients about this for years. I've done another free training on this, and most people don't do it. Most of you won't do it. You might do it for a few days. You might do it for a week. At minimum, I want you to commit to doing this for 30 days, at minimum. And honestly, if you can't commit to doing this for 30 days, I mean, don't even bother. Don't even bother trying. Because also, you can't keep saying, I'm willing. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to go all in. I'm willing to, like, just stop pretending. Stop pretending you're willing when you're not, because that's going to create a mixed signal. And I know this, and why I'm speaking to you so openly about this is I ask people all the time. They're like, "Yeah, give me that power tracking exercise." And then I'll go back to them like 2 weeks later. How's that going? Oh, well, I did it for a couple days. Oh, yeah. And then you're going to come and ask me the same question that you asked me a month ago, and I'm going to give you the exact same answer. Do the power tracking, because what you're telling me is happening right now is because you haven't harnessed your power. Your power is circumstantial. Your power is based on the result. Your power is based on, the situation. When you can hold your power, this is going to create conviction. Conviction creates wealth. Conviction equals God signing the paychecks. And so you've got to know how to create conviction. And you're only going to be able to create conviction if you can stand in your power, no matter what's going on around you. And this is a very easy exercise. So when I say a lot of people aren't going to do it and a lot of you aren't going to do it, you might be thinking like, wow, this is going to be a big thing she wants me to do for 30 days. It's going to take you about 5 seconds a day. 5 seconds a day, and it's going to change your whole freaking life. I promise you, if you commit to it. And how do I know this? Because I'm a walking embodiment of it. This is what changed my life. This is one of the 2 things that I'm going to share with you in this experience. You're going to sit in deep sacred witness of yourself, and you're going to have a calendar, and you're going to decide what your energetic standard is for you being in your power and not being in your power on any given day. Now, remember, the whole point of this is that you're going to start harnessing your personal power. You're not going to be perfect. You're going to begin to harness your personal power. And what you're going to do at the end of every day is you're going to place a dot on the calendar that's above the line energetically or below the line of was I in my power today? That's the only question you're going to ask yourself. One dot above or below the line. Now, it's not, it goes higher if there's child there. It's not that it's going to go higher if you are like kind of in your power. You're not gonna be like, I was 80%. It's either yes or no. Was I in my power today? Now, there's a few instructions that I need to give you about this that are really important. And again, you decide whether you're in your power or not. And it doesn't mean that anytime fear comes in, you're not in your power because you get to choose again throughout the day. And so, why this became so powerful for me, and what you're also not going to do, sorry, before I tell you why it became so powerful, you're not also going to make a reason for it. Well, my dot goes below the line today because my husband was being a dick and he didn't listen to me and he forgot to pick up the kids and he blah blah blah. And so I lost my power today because he did this and go into victim mentality. You're also not going to do things like, oh yeah, I leaked energy, I leaked my power today. I'm on my period, and so like it's expected. Like you're not putting notes about why you were in your power or not in your power. You're not analyzing it. You're just looking at was I in my power, was I not in my power? Now, the thing that I said really creates the shift in this is that you're going to start, and if you're anything like me, it's like I want to harness my personal power. And so I was like, okay, I'm about to go lose my shit right now. I'm about to respond from victimhood. I'm about to respond from self-righteousness, and I'm going to choose not to. Because at the end of this day, I want to post that dot above the line. I'm going to take radical self-responsibility for who I am, for my response, for my actions, for the way in which I operate. I'm going to start being the woman that I say that I am, the woman that I desire to be. And I'm not just going to let life happening around me dictate who I am. I'm not going to let someone saying yes or no dictate my power. I'm going to stop leaking energy in all these places and I'm going to start to seal it up. And as I start to seal it up, it's going to build and it's going to build and it's going to build and it's going to build. Now, one thing that was cool for me when I started doing this is I actually recognized I wasn't leaking as much energy as I thought I was. I looked and I was like, okay, there is actually more dots above the line than I expected there to be. But guess where before this I had been concentrating on? I would have a dot below the line one day, and then I would let it linger for 5 days because then I would shame myself for the dot being below the line. I would guilt myself. I'd be like, "Oh, you've already fucked this all up." Now it's just like, okay, there's a day with the dot below the line, and let's move on because who I choose to be in this moment matters. Not who I was yesterday, who I'm going to choose to be in this moment. And so you're not going to analyze why the dot's above or below the line, but you're going to start to see that you actually, I'm going to say, have so much control. And I use this word control, which is fascinating because in one of my courses, I talk about like the illusion of control. But this is control that's very different. It's not control from you manipulating things, it's seeing how much control you have to be unapologetically you, how much control you have in the sense of you get to take radical responsibility, how much control you have with the power of your choice. So what do we, so do we write a dot below the line, even if I just lost my power once out of 20, for example? So here's the thing, and this is, I love that you asked this question. It's like if let's say my kid was just behind here with a football peering in the window. I've also told them like this is an important call. My kids are unschooled, they homeschool, they often come in and out when I'm on calls, and I've said like this is an important call. So let's say I now go and kind of lose my shit on them. I now go and say like you came in on that call and I told you not to and you interrupted it and like blah blah blah. And for a second, like that's my response. And then I breathe and I say to him, I'm so sorry. Like, yes, I had asked you not to come in on that call, and it's not the end of the world. And blah, 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 blah. Like, if I then shift into radical self-responsibility to me, and this is from my experience, I'm like, that is harnessing my personal power? Remember, the experience that we're tracking is, am I harnessing my personal power? And so for me, being willing to apologize, to admit when I'm wrong, that is harnessing my personal power. And so I don't expect anyone to be perfect. And I don't expect you to sit here and judge yourself or shame yourself or feel guilty when you're not, or the days that the dot but goes below the line. But the desire here is, the goal is that within each moment, within the moments where you're about to drop your power, where you're about to go lose your mind on the customer service person that is, causing disruption in your day, that you don't, because you're someone who is dedicated right now, dedicated and devoted to harnessing your power. And you decide, like, I'm not willing. I'm not willing for this to create disruption in my field. I'm not willing for someone else's bad mood, bad day to create disruption in my field. I'm not willing for, I really thought this person was going to come in and hire me as their one-to-one coach and they didn't. I'm not willing for that to be the thing that takes me out today, because I trust that if that's a no for that person, it's because there's someone right behind them who's ready to say yes. And so you start deciding who I am in this moment. You start to break patterns because you start to see, like, oh yeah, yesterday I may have responded this way because yesterday I was believing the lie I told myself that I'm not worthy, that I'm not enough. Yesterday I was like, this person deserves to be punished because they wronged me. And so you start really stepping in. And when you start really stepping in, and when your power becomes unwavering, the field around you responds. This is why the things that we said at the beginning of this call, it's like you become willing to be misunderstood. You start to care so deeply about who you are that you're not going to let that power leak. You're not going to allow that to happen. And again, we're all human. No one's going to ever be perfect at this, but sitting in awareness of yourself, I like to call it sacred witness. When you do this, it's going to drastically shift. It's going to shift how you show up day after day, moment after moment. This is where God meets you. This is where God gets to respond. This message here, we start living like God, sovereign, grace, love, power. Yes. Meet yourself in this way. Invite God to meet this version of you. Because right now, God's experience of you, many of you, is like, she's just a wild woman over there. And I mean, I'm a wild woman. I love being a wild woman, but I mean wild woman in the sense of, like, who knows? Like, who knows if this happens, if it's gonna take her out for 4 months, and yet I've just, like, placed all these people, I've just delivered all these people that I know she can impact, but then all of a sudden one thing goes wrong in her life and she can't show up for life or her impact or her leadership or her mentorship anymore. Well, God's got to step in and, like, protect that from happening. And so God shows up in deliverance the more, again, the more power that you can hold. And this is true power. This isn't power that's been bestowed upon you. This isn't me looking to say, like, oh, yep, I'm going to put your dot above the line or below the line. This is you in your truth. This is you in your knowing. This is not you trying to trick God and trying to negotiate with yourself. Well, I didn't do this today, but I did this. So can I put the dot there? Don't try to fake this. Don't try to manipulate the energetics of this. Don't try to trick God. God cannot be deceived in this way. Just sit with yourself in truth. Hey, I was in my power today or wasn't. And on the days that you weren't, it's like, okay, tomorrow, I'm going to really pay attention to this. Tomorrow, I see right now where I got caught in that loop and that pattern and that behavior, that habitual thing that I do. And tomorrow, I'm actually going to bring this into awareness and I'm going to catch myself. So even if I do that thing tomorrow, I'm going to catch myself and I'm going to shift it in the moment. So at the end of the day tomorrow, that dot's going above the line. Are we clear here? And I'm going to tell you, like I said, this might sound simple. It's not. It's going to make you uncomfortable at times. It's going to make you uncomfortable to look back and see where the dots are placed. But the more you're willing to do it, again, remember, this is your journey, your experience with God, your walk. harnessing your power. Like literally, I do mean this when I say like this is one of the first things, like the most massive, like the biggest things that I did that's really changed how I show up. It's changed the woman that I am because I'm no longer willing to allow other people to take from me, to take energetically. And when I mean take from me, like that I'm willing to give my power away to whatever it is outside of me, knowing who I am, standing strong in who I am, being unapologetic about it. And God's like, this woman's willing to stand in the holy fire. This woman's willing to be the voice of my work, of my truth. And of course, I'm going to deliver the people. Of course, I want her words to vibrate around the world. And this is where, and this is what we'll end on today, this is where I start placing expectation on God. So I expect God to sign my paychecks. I expect God to deliver women like you, people like you in this space. I place expectation on God. Now, I don't attach my energy to it. I don't control God. I don't try to figure out the how. I don't control the timeline, but I absolutely have expectation on God. Because if I am willing to be here like this, if I am willing to be vulnerable, if I'm willing to speak truth, if I'm willing to be misunderstood, if I'm willing to follow all of the soul nudges that I receive, of course, I expect God to be conspiring in my favor. Of course, I expect God to show up in deliverance because why wouldn't He? I'm here doing what I came here to do, doing what we all came here to do, be the fullest expression of ourselves. And when you do that, I will tell you, life gets better, better, and better. The prayer, God, shower me in your magnificence, becomes your lived experience, your lived reality. Because when you stop holding back, God just meets you there. Again, you have this idea that that you're waiting on God, but God is really waiting on you to show up in power, in truth, in conviction, so that He can sign the paycheck. Thank you so much for being here for day one with me. I see a ton of questions coming up in the chat. For those who are in the Telegram experience with me, I'm going to be heading there this afternoon to answer a lot of these questions. Come join us there. If you're in for that, I'll see you there. If not, we will be back here for day two. Day two, where we go deeper and deeper and deeper. Day one is about power. Day one is about conviction. Day two, we're really going to look at where you handcuff God, where you're creating disruption in the and interference, where you think that you're waiting for more clarity, but you're actually blocking what's available to you. Tomorrow, we're bringing in a lot of conversation around money. So money, money, money is the frequency of tomorrow. And then day three, again, expanding deeper and becoming a true energetic match in that which you pray for. So thank you, thank you, thank you. It is such an honor. I love you, and I will see you where I see you next, either in the Telegram or back here.